My Otter, Chapter 4, Oliver. Why had Oliver ever thought this was a good idea? He had been swimming for what felt like hours and still wasn't anywhere near land. He didn't care about impressing Lulu and Pearl and Sammy anymore. All they wanted was a nice juicy crab lunch and then a good long nap. It wasn't just that he was tired, though. Oliver hated to admit it, even to himself, but an uneasiness had been creeping over him for the last hour or so. He wasn't sure why. Maybe it was the lack of marine life in this part of the ocean, but something just felt off. Either way, either that, or maybe he really was just a mama otter's boy after all. The next time Oliver surfaced, he realized with a start that the sky had gone from blue to pink. The sun was setting. He really had been gone a long time. Mama must be so worried about him. The thought made his tummy twist with guilt. When Oliver dove back beneath the waves, he barely saw the massive school of fish coming in time to dodge out of their way. "Hey, what's the rush?" he called, but none of the silver fish spared him a response. They looked focused. In fact, they almost looked frightened. Oliver glanced around. Maybe a shark or some other predator was nearby, but he didn't see anything that was cause for alarm. Oliver started to swim when suddenly a sea lion sped by not too far away. This time, it wasn't Oliver's imagination. The sea lion looked scared. Oliver's heart began to pound. He had never seen a scared sea lion before. They were some of the bravest animals he knew. "What's going on?" he said, but the sea lion either didn't hear him or pretended not to. "That's it," Oliver decided. "I'm going home." He set off in the opposite direction, only the current was too strong and he could barely move forward. Oliver dropped a little lower. The water was darker here, and with night quickly falling, it was getting harder and harder to see. Oliver had just begun to paddle again when slam! "Ouch!" he cried, tumbling to the side as the massive spotted gray creature with big black eyes and a black nose clipped him. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Oliver gaped as 5 seals streamed past him. The one that had accidentally knocked into him with her fin spotted him and turned, slowing down long enough to call out, "Better get out of here fast, kid. Hurry up now." "What? Why?" Oliver said, but she was already catching up with her pod. If Oliver had been unsettled before, now he was well and truly frightened. Was there a whale? Every once in a while, a whale made its way into the Puget Sound. But no, that couldn't be it. Sea lions and seals didn't flee from whales like that. Oliver glanced behind him as he began to swim after the seals. Then he did a double take. There was something behind him, something even bigger than a whale and much, much more ominous. Oliver had seen a squid release a plume of ink once. The black ink had billowed out in the water like a rolling cloud, expanding wider and wider until fading away. Now he thought he might be looking at the ink cloud released by the biggest squid in the whole entire world. Only that couldn't be it, because while this massive cloud of black was expanding and rapidly, it wasn't fading away. If anything, it was only getting thicker and darker as it grew. The pit of fear in Oliver's tummy bloomed into full-on terror. He sped after the seals, not daring to look back at the black cloud. But he could sense it was closing in, and fast. "Oliver! Oliver! Mama!" Oliver gasped. He swam even harder, listening hard as her voice grew louder and louder. There was the pod of seals, and there were more sea lions and turtles and a porpoise and crabs and so many fish. Oliver realized they were all approaching the entrance to the strait, the last narrow part of the sound before it opened up to the ocean. Every single living creature in Puget Sound was racing to the sea, and the strait was total chaos. "Mama! Mama!" Oliver cried again and again, but he couldn't hear her anymore. There were too many creatures speeding by, and he couldn't keep up. He didn't dare look back at that awful black cloud. Oliver wanted to cry as he swam as hard as he could, and suddenly, "Oliver!" When Olympia's white furry face popped up in front of Oliver's, he went weak with relief. "Mama, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." "Not now. Just hurry." Olympia didn't seem angry as she pulled Oliver through the water. She looked scared. and not like when Oliver stayed underwater too long, or asked if he could go closer to the beach, or strayed too close to a pelican. No, this was real fear in Olympia's large black eyes. "What's going on?" Oliver asked desperately as they swam. But Olympia didn't answer. The strait was crowded with marine life now, and Oliver stuck close to his mama's side as they darted past a slow-moving jellyfish. Then out of nowhere, smack, something hard slammed into Oliver, sending him spiraling away from Olympia. She barely caught a glimpse of a sea turtle hurtling past at astonishing speed before he was surrounded by tiny, frantically flitting yellow fish. "Mama!" he yelled, swatting at the fish and trying to see. He thought he heard Olympia calling him his name, but he couldn't even tell which direction her voice was coming from. Oliver grunted, twisting and turning and finally escaping the chaotic school of fish and getting a better look at his surroundings. "Oliver?" He looked up. "Mama?" A few more sea lions swam past, and Oliver got caught up in their current. He flipped head over tail several times and finally landed, dizzy and disoriented, on the sandy ocean floor. Oliver rubbed his head and looked around. The last few seals were visible in the distance, disappearing into the dusky water. Suddenly, he was alone. Only he wasn't alone. Oliver could sense something coming up behind him fast. He turned slowly, his heart pounding hard in his chest. The giant wall of black was racing toward him, way, way too fast. Oliver tried to swim away, paddling as hard as his limbs could paddle, but it was no use. In seconds, the blackness swallowed him up. What do you think the blackness is? And sorry about the bells.